Hi guys, my name is Monty and I want to tell you about my debt-free testimony. It's going to be a year on March 31st that I have been debt-free. It's been beautiful. I told the testimony on TikTok and it got a very good review. So I'm like, let me go ahead and put this on YouTube. So it was November 17th, November 18th, 2017. I got, I guess you would call it a prophet. No, someone prophesied to me, and I didn't realize that's what it was until later on. But anyway, I went to a backyard wedding where I met a man that I thought he was a pastor, and he wasn't. And so, at that wedding, I was sitting at the table with him, along with some other pastors, and he went on to tell me some things about myself that I hadn't disclosed to him, but he went on to tell me the things and they were like right on point, and I never said yay or nay. However, he also went on to let me know that I was in debt, and then that's when I felt like he didn't know what he was talking about, but he was really spot on. I just didn't know it. And so at that wedding, he asked me if he could pray for me. And really, you don't want everybody praying for you because not everybody have good intentions. But I felt, a good vibe with him. So he prayed for me. And, guys, let me tell you, I was at a backyard wedding. It was like the Zydeco music going, laughter, and I didn't like foresee me being able to hear him. But trust me, when that man started praying, all I could hear was the sound of his voice. So he then went on to tell me that, once I opened my eyes, there were tears. And he said, there go the tears. And he said, well, if I never see you again, don't forget Mr. Roger. Well, Mr. Roger, I never forgot you. And this is about my 20th time telling this story, probably more than that. And so it was after that day, my life took a turn that I would never believe. I mean, he told me that, my life would not be the same. But he also told me not to look at what's going to happen or how it's going to happen. Just get on my knees and thank him. And, in that conversation, I let him know that I get on my knees and I thank him every day. But he was like, no, get in the closet, put a sheet over your head and thank him. I did that. Now, I don't do it now, but I still get on my knees every day. However, a week after I had the pleasure of meeting him, that's when everything started to unfold. When I told you that he said that I was in debt, and I told you that I felt like he didn't know what he was speaking of, my daughter, came to me and was telling me that she had an opportunity to do an internship in Kansas, and that it would really, be a good look on her resume. She was then a senior in college. My cousin had also asked me if I wanted to do a part-time hustle, and I asked her what was the hustle, and she told me it was grocery shopping and delivering for people. And I was like, hell no, I don't want to grocery shop for myself. Little did I know I would be backtracking, eating crow, asking her like, okay, so what's up on the job? Because my daughter wanted to do this internship. It was in Kansas. We knew no one in Kansas. And now I felt like, well, maybe the debt he was speaking of was me having to get her new transportation, because the transportation that she had was a car that I had been having since she was 6. And it was good enough to get her, to high school and college, but it wasn't good enough for her to be taken to Kansas. So I had to finance her a new car, let alone I had to find her somewhere to live in Kansas because we knew no one in Kansas. So that also entailed me getting her an apartment that had 24-hour valet parking, and she didn't have to worry about stepping foot outside, just driving up to the 3rd floor. It made me feel better. However, that apartment rent was more than my mortgage. So, like I said, I had to go back and eat crow and ask about that job. And it was definitely grocery shopping and delivering, and it was Instacart. And so, my first week, it was okay. I didn't really know what I was doing, but then I had the opportunity to meet someone that, he showed me the ropes, and he also told me, while I was making it clear that this was just my part-time hustle, he let me know this was his full-time hustle, and that he made over 6 figures a year. So he showed me everything that I needed to know. And from that point on, I'm going to say after 3 months, I was making anywhere from $300 a week to sometimes $1,000 a week, and that was no joke. I still keep the my paycheck stub things like on my phone, just for testimony, like when I'm showing people that this is really what it was. So the biggest the biggest testimony of the debt-free journey was my daughter. I asked her, was there some sort of stipend with this internship that she was doing, and she later found out that it was like $7,000 a month, y'all. So I'm like, well, $7,000 a month, listen, you need to pay that car needs to be paid off by the time you get back here, and you are going to be responsible for paying your own rent. Meanwhile, I still took the job, right? I'm working it, and so I decided to, one day just write down all my bills, because, I feel like I had credit cards, I had a mortgage, but again, I didn't feel like I was in any kind of debt. But when I actually started writing down everything, y'all, I was in debt. And so basically what I started to do was I listed down all the credit cards. I think it was a total of 12. I'm ashamed to say it, but there has been more. There was a total of 12, and I wrote down the balances, and every week, because with Instacart you would get paid every week, I would take the money that was made from Instacart and I would just throw it toward that one particular credit card. And also when I got paid from my primary job, when I would pay bills, I would still pay the bills that I would normally pay. And so basically every week I was paying on a credit card, basically the same credit card, until it was paid off. Then I would go to the next. So I'm going to say in a total of 16 months, I had paid off a total of $55,000, and that was also included the balance of my car. And so after I paid that off, I was like I was excited about paying bills. Never have I ever been excited about paying bills, but I got excited. So then I started like throwing extra toward the principal on my house. And once I started doing that, I think it took me an additional year and a half, almost 2, and I finished paying off the house. So after this, guys, I was like debt free with the exception of my school loan. And so at this time, I still had no intentions on retirement or anything like that. But I then found out that the job that I had been on for a total of 26 years, my department was about to come to an end. And so with that being said, I'm like, oh my God, I called HR to see how much longer I had to work, and they informed me that I could retire the next year, which would have been March 31st, 2022. So basically I transferred into another department, and I worked there for just about a year, and it was so nice because at first I hadn't intended on doing a retirement, but once I was debt free, and I worked for the state, so you had no choice. They were taking 7% out of your paycheck every 5th and 20th. So when you retired, you were pretty much you were good. So the 31st of March 2022 came around, and I was in a position that I could retire. So I walked out of the door March 31st, 2022, debt free with the exception of my school loans, and they were in forbearance because of COVID. And they kept putting them in, I guess they kept giving us a break or whatever. Prior to that, I was paying, and I was in the forgiveness program, with my job. After you've been there for so many years and you've made so many payments, you were forgiven. So after I retired, I get a letter 2 months later stating that the remainder of my student loan had been forgiven. That was such a blessing. So that's how I became debt free. It wasn't intentional, but it was definitely a testimony, and I wouldn't have it any other way. The lesson learned is stay away from the credit cards, because I did have a lot, and live up under the radar. Thanks, guys.